lost some giants, they were a credit to the game. But we've also found some young'uns, they promise to be the same. That's what the big game's all about, it happens every year. We lose a few of our heroes, but find others who know no fear. We see them give it all they know, we see them give it their best shot. It's whether unknown or famous, you gotta give it all you got. That season was a good one, we saw a big man walking tall. But who will it be this year to collect the greatest prize of all?
For this Stones Bitter League clash, Halifax versus St Helens. Bit of a murky day here at Thrum Hall. Very misty coming over the Pennines, but we don't usually get good weather here at Halifax anyway, do we? Anyway, I'll go through the teams for you now. St Helens first, of course. Number 1, Beavers. 2, Large. 3, Laughlin. 4, Elia. 5, Quirk. 6, Arkwright. 7, Bailey. 8, Burke. 9, Harrison. 10, Evans. 11, Neil. 12, Haggerty. 13, Platt. 14, Tanner, and 15, Litherland. With the Halifax outfit, number 1, Edie. 2, Taylor. 3, Grogan. 4, Wilkinson. 5, George. 6, Whitfield. 7, Stevens. 8, Beavers. 9, McCallion. 10, Neller. 11, Hanson. 12, Juliff. 13, Pendlebury. 14, Meredith, and 15, Scott. Today's referee is Mr. Carter. Graham Eady, the captain for Halifax, and Chris Arkwright for Saints. Yes, I think on the Halifax side it is Brian Juliff wearing number 11 jersey. Anyway, both these teams, as we know, took final opponents at Wembley last May, with Halifax just running out winners 19 points to 18. Again, with plenty of talking points, but we know we got beaten on paper only. Anyway, it's Halifax to kick off. Kicks it deep, Pendlebury kicks off, gathered by Laughlin, driving towards the 25, number 10, Neller, one of the tacklers, quickly in there with Brian Juliff. And to Stuart Evans. David Allison takes the acting half-back position. Saints moving it to the left. Chris Arkwright sees the gap, straightens up, looking for the support. David Allison was with him, but he just couldn't release the ball that time. David Allison again, acting half-back. To Laughlin, kicks it deep upfield, taken by Graham Eady. Said he was packing in after Wembley last season, but the Halifax board tempted him out of retirement again, and he's here playing today. Well, the penalty to Halifax there. First penalty of the game. Referee Carter ruling a rather over-exuberant tackle by the Saints team. So Whitfield kicks for touch. Finds touch right on the halfway line. To McCallion to restart. On to number 8, Beavers. Loses the ball, Phil Beavers. Quickly up on the loose ball. Tony Burke stepping up with the acting half-back. Going blindside Burke on his own. Pendlebury and McCallion bring him down. Dave Allison stepping up, moving it to the right. Jonathan Neal in, this young Cumbrian, 18 years of age, ex-Kells product. First team debut for Saints today. Signed in the close season last year. Well, Halifax breaking through. Bill Beavers has him. He let play go on there. It looks like a hint of a knock-on, but Halifax on the attack. Number 6 there. Whitfield, I think it is, trying to go through. Halifax moving it to the left. Stevens onto Juliff. Halifax putting the pressure on Saints, but not having the best of luck in the league this season. Stevens, across to Pendlebury, looking for the gap. Burke and Haggerty stop his gallop. Finally allowed to play the ball. McCallion acting half-back, moving it right onto Stevens. Looking for the gap, gets in a bit tied up. Mark Elia, no problem, bundles him down to ground. Last tackle for Halifax, they're going to run it. Number 12 trying to go in at the corner here. And they've scored in the corner. Halifax scored in the corner there. Just can't make out who scored at present. He was a bit out of vision in this corner here. But Halifax take an early lead. Only the 3rd minute. Well, I believe it's number 12, Hansen, going over in this right-hand corner. Very difficult kick for Colin Whitfield, obviously well within his capabilities. Right down here on the touchline, Les Quirk taking a knock there, early knock in the game. Johnny signed this week from Barrow. Barrow wants £100,000 for him. Saints' valuation is around about the 40,000 mark. We don't know whether it's going to tribunal or whether they are going to settle before it goes to tribunal. Anyway, it's Colin Whitfield playing at standoff for Halifax today. As I say, a difficult kick for him. Just only a couple of feet in from the touchline. Prolific kicker. Whitfield just had a spell over in Australia in the close season. The Saints suffering an early setback. Halifax second early lead, and Whitfield takes it across the face of the goal. So, as I say, the 3rd minute try by Hansen. So Halifax taking a 4-0 lead. Paul Loughlin to start. Very murky here at Drum Hall. Loughlin kicks off. Taken by the Halifax man, drives out of his own 25. Stuart Evans, Andy Platt, and Dave Allison quickly in there. Wilf George, that is coming through. Also in Halifax ranks, Taylor, the wingman, signed from Oldham. Good wingman, this Taylor. There's young Gary Stevens. Or should I say old Gary Stevens. Real live wire, ex-Wigan. Back to Whitfield, picks up field. David Ladd's chasing it, and the ball goes into touch. A good solid kick there from Whitfield. Gained a valuable 45 yards for Halifax, and he finds touch about 15 yards from the Saints try line. The first scrum of the match now. Mark Bailey to feed. Scrum being turned. And I think that's Halifax being penalised. It's Halifax scrum half, Stevens being penalised for not retiring at the scrum. So it's Paul Loughlin, picks up field, finds touch 10 yards short of the halfway line. David Harrison steps up there to restart. First man in, Stuart, Tony Burke, I think it is that time, but the ball's loose. Yes, Tony Burke it was. Regain the ball. Saints coming away. Stuart Evans diving through. Takes some pulling down the Stuart Evans, ex-Neath Rugby Union. David Allison flicks it up to Chris Arkwright. Looking for the gap, but Halifax quickly in there. Obviously there's something to prove. Only won one league match this season. That was versus Lee. 26 points to 18 they won. Saints being penned in their own half. Dave Allison onto Mark Bailey, short ball onto Stuart Evans. barge forward, brought down right on the halfway line. Last tackle now, they set a 6 for Saints. Ball back to Beavers. And the ball bouncing and then going into touch. Good kick from Beavers there on the 6th tackle. Second scrum now. Gary Stevens to feed. Once the referee has got his scrum packed. Ball going with the feed and Halifax brings away. Eady linking up. Loose ball there. Chris Arkwright quickly in for it. Couldn't gather it. I think it's, yes, Whitfield gets that ball. But it's Halifax still in possession. Pegged in their own half. Number 4, Wilkinson, takes it back to Whitfield. He kicks upfield. Phil Beavers gathers it. Just on his own 25. Turns round David Lodge with him. Moves infield, David Lodge, but the Halifax cover outfield. It's Paul Loughlin from acting halfback, driving forward, gains 10 yards. David Harrison stepping up, takes it blindside onto Andy Platt. And Saints going to move it left this time. To Mark Bailey, short ball onto Stuart Evans. Flicks it out there to Dave Harrison, I think it is. Yes, David Harrison. Always in there, David Harrison. Haggerty now, high stepping Haggerty. Good second row forward. Finally bundled to ground by Pendlebury. Lying on there at the play the ball, but going unpenalised. It's the last tackle for Saints. Chris Arkwright, Andy Platt. Onto Loughlin. Cross to David Lodge. On the 6th tackle. Hurting for the corner, Lodge. Got a super tackle there from Mick George. Bundles him into touch, but Saints not afraid to let this ball go. Took it from one side of the ground to the other on the 6th tackle. It's going to be a scrum down with Stevens to feed. Only one clean scrum and that going Halifax way. So it's Stevens to feed. And a penalty there, Saints being penalised for an infringement at the scrum. Offside, obviously adjudging Mark Bailey offside at the scrum. So Whitfield kicks for touch from the penalty awarded and finds touch 10 yards inside Saints half. Halifax pressing up quickly. First man in Pendlebury, I think it is. Now with number 10, Neller. Haggerty in there. The ball's loose. Well, it must be a knock-on. Yes, McCallion saw the loose ball, scooped it up. But Haggerty, Andy Platt in the bundle Neller down. He lost the ball in the tackle. And referee Carter ruling a knock-on. So it's going to be Saints feed, Mark Bailey to feed. Saints win the scrum. No, Halifax win the scrum, beg your pardon. Stevens coming away with the ball, one against the head there. Quick play the ball from Halifax, look as though they mean business today. They try to score a Hansen there, comes onto a short ball off Whitfield. McCallion steps up, acting half-back onto Stevens. Loop movement here with Pendlebury. Number 11, Hugh Lifter coming through. Only on the substitutes bench at Wembley, but Halifax flinging it to the right. Try score a Hansen. Bundle down. Andy Platt and Roy Haggerty. Back to Whitfield. Well, I don't know what that was. He'd plenty of time. It looks as though he just kicked it straight. Didn't look as though it was dropped at all. But it's going to be a 25-yard restart for Saints. Saints in possession. Tony Burke, first man in. Beats one tackle, but Neller just manages to hang on to his ankles. Roy Haggerty over here on the blind side. Pushes Pendlebury out of the way, receiving plenty of attention from Neller, Stevens and Pendlebury. Halifax offside here, but Carter not ruling so. Chris Arkwright flicks it out to Andy Platt. Well played from Saints captain Chris Arkwright, but just couldn't get it moving. Paul Loughlin. Long cross-field kick for touch. Super kick from Loughlin. Save a lot of running that. Finds touch on Halifax 25. So 12 minutes gone, and Halifax with a 4 points to nil lead. That third minute Hansen try. So it's Gary Stevens to feed. And Saints awarded a penalty. Obviously not packing correctly in referee Carter's opinion. So Paul Loughlin gains another 15 yards with the kick. David Harrison steps up. First man in, Tony Burke, driving towards the Halifax try line. Roy Haggerty acting half-back. Loop movements with Harrison. Haggerty again. Well, we've seen this a few times. There he is again. Ball coming over to Loughlin. Over here on the left. Phil Weavers linking up. On to Mark Elia. On to Quirk. Yes, and Quirk in at this left-hand corner. We're having a bit of difficulty here with a post obstructing our view. But Les Quirk, on his debut for Saints, going in this left-hand corner for his debut try for Saints. So 13 minutes gone and Saints level it up. Brilliant work there. Inter-passing movement from over on the right. Haggerty involved in that move about 3 times. The ball coming over and Saints split them open. Overlap on the left. And Les Quirk going in for a try. For 4 points each. Difficult kick for Paul Loughlin over on the touchline. Saints leading goal scorer with 18 to his credit before today. No, but it fades to the left, so 4 points each. Saints level it up, so good game in prospect. Well, with a brilliant display last week at Nosey Road against Bradford with 7 tries, 4 goals and 2 drop goals. Phil Weavers coming in the second half after Mark Bailey injury, taking up the scrum half position, and wasn't he brilliant? He ended up with the players, the sponsors man of the match. And a good display from the Saints last week. David Large now. As I said before, I'd like to see this lad in full flight. On the dry pitch, he's a real fair turn of pace. But the Saints now just pegged back in their own 25. Dave Harrison acting half-back, going on his own. From the acting half-back, play the ball. David Large coming up there, but just couldn't link up. Short ball there from Saints, and tries have fallen from the Halifax supporters, but Saints still in possession. Phil Weavers. Crossfield kick upfield. Taylor, Mike Taylor, going to gather the ball safely, does so. Has to turn round, Saints closing up on him. Andy Platt, a super tackle from Andy Platt. Shoulder in, round the legs and slides down. Can't go without your legs. But Halifax coming away, brought down right on their own 25. Jonathan Neal in the for Saints. So Halifax driving forward, gaining ground. That's every play the ball, change of direction onto Juliff, coming through, linking up. Well, that's the 4th tackle. They've made about 30 yards of Halifax. McCallion acting half-back, takes it back to Whitfield. Grubbers for touch. David Large well positioned, stopped it with his leg, flicked it up into his hands. Ooh, it's a rather high tackle there, but quickly in Halifax. Saints now. On to Stuart Evans, driving forward. He's picking up the game a lot. Evans had a good game against Bradford last week. Always eager to part with the ball when Saints are in an attacking move. As Tony Burke there finally brought to ground by a 3-4 man Halifax tackle. And Dave Harrison stepping up, brings it left onto Arkwright, onto Mark Bailey, Andy Platt. Pendlebury. And Pendlebury on the top. I just can't make out who's on the bottom. It's Colin Whitfield. Roy Haggerty now looking for the gap, flicks it back inside. Ball on now. Touched the Halifax man, I think, but the ball now with Stuart Evans looking for support. As I was saying, there's Arkwright. The break's on. Mark Bailey. Very good display from Saints. Well, he hasn't wiped the tackles off, but Stuart Evans, as I was just saying, eager to release the ball. Paul Loughlin kicks through. The ball going into touch. So not a bad kick from Lachlan there. Saints putting the pressure on. We've got a scrum down about 5 yards short of Saints line. 17 minutes of the game gone, and the score's all level at 4 points each. So it's Stevens to feed. If Saints can get one against the head here and put a pressure on this Halifax team. We've been putting a lot of pressure on them there. We've just kicked up Paul Lachlan kick into the Halifax 25, but we've been penalised. Obviously for an offence at the play of the ball, at the scrum down, I should say. Foot up, referee Carter indicating. So Whitfield to kick for touch. Nice touch, 10 yards short of the halfway line. Halifax to restart. Well, Saints quickly up there, snuff out the Halifax attack. Onto Neller. Easily recognisable with his blonde hair. McCallion onto Stevens. Taking it crossfield. Eady, I think that is linking up with the attack. Ex-Australian international full-back. Pendlebury there in possession for Halifax. McCallion acting half-back. Oh, Pendlebury there now. Forward pass there onto Whitfield. Crossfield, Stuart Evans, Tony Burke bundle him to the ground, but they've penetrated the Saints 25. Stevens now, loop movement with him. On to number 3, Grogan. That was him over there before, and I thought it was Pendlebury, but George now trying to go for the line. Well, I'm sure they'll let George score, even if he does step into touch. Because he scored one at Wembley that way. On to Whitfield now. Solid Saints tackling, finally bundles him down. Andy Platt and Tony Burke, I think it is. So Stuart Evans, Stevens going for a drop goal. No goal. Obviously Halifax wanting to try and get a slight lead. It was a drop goal that won the match at Wembley. But it's Dave Harrison restarted onto Mark Elia. Harrison again takes the action half back onto Jonathan Neal. Flicks it out to Mark Elia. Onto Chris Arkwright, straightens up, drives forward, passes it out to Beavers. Saints looking very lively. Onto Stuart Evans. Crossfield Evans. Finally released it to Andy Platt. Well, Halifax don't look as though they've got any answer to Saints into passing. They can just splitting them open. Pendlebury here coming across offside. But Haggerty now with the ball. Going again onto Paul Lachlan. Over to David Large now, coming crossfield. But forward pass being moved by referee Carter. Well, they picked that out of nothing. No hint of a forward pass in my opinion. But we're scrumming down midway between, about 10 yards just outside of Saints 25. With Gary Stevens to feed. Paul going with the feed, yes, and he's penalised for feeding. Very blatant there as he attempted to put the ball in the scrum, well in the second row. So Paul Lachlan stepping up for his penalty conversion, finds touch 5 yards inside Halifax half. Dave Harrison again, first man in. Jonathan Neal on the burst, driving forward, only 18 years of age this lad, ex-Kells player, signed back end of last season. I'm sure, judging by the size of him, will be a valuable asset to the Saints. Dave Harrison now, from the dummy half position. Loop movement with Mark Bailey. Harrison again. Beats the defence, going for the line, Harrison. Flicks it out inside, but Halifax man knocks it down. Well, good play there from Dave Harrison. Scooted through the gap, but the ball going to ground. But it's in Halifax 25. Halifax are in possession, so Saints will have to peg them back. On to number 10, Neller. Taken down. Andy Platt wrenches the ball from his grip. Gets penalised for his trouble. No, he doesn't. I thought he was going to get penalised, but the referee rules the scrum down. It'll be Gary Stevens to feed. A scrum down right on Halifax 25. Well, penalty to Saints. differential penalty at the scrum for McCallion. Loose arm, so Saints quickly tap the ball. Obviously keen to get points on the board halfway through this first half, and 4 points each. Mark Bailey had a good game against Bradford, still bobbing and weaving and jinking. Nearly got through there, being lay on there and rightly penalised Halifax for lying on. So Paul Loughlin going to step up now to convert this penalty award into points. Mark Bailey there, obviously a danger man. If he keeps up his form from last week when we played Bradford, very much in the running for the man of the match, but an untimely injury early in the second half. Saints being awarded a penalty there, Mark Bailey being held down in his efforts to get up to play the ball. So 23 minutes gone. 23 minutes gone, and Paul Loughlin, uncharacteristic from him, he misses that, he just can't believe it. I think he's hurt himself in the process, but he misses that, so Saints' chance of taking a lead goes a-begging. Perhaps he took the turf there, Loughlin, but 4 points each, still the score. Whitfield kicks off, kicks deep, Mark Bailey stops it with his foot. Gathers it, Phil Beavers and Les Quirk with him. Bailey goes infield. Phil Beavers acting half-back, onto Tony Burke. Crossfield, steps out to one, couldn't release it. Dave Allison acting half-back, on the blind side, Roy Haggerty. Sees a gap, infield, Roy Haggerty. Fending him off, right, left and centre, onto Elia. Going towards the sticks. Brilliant try there from Elia. 10 yards to the left of the sticks. 24 minutes gone, and Elia goes over for his 5th try of the season. Brilliant play from Haggerty there, handed 2-3 players off right on the halfway line, created a gap from Elia, and no trouble for this Kiwi international centre, headed towards the line and touches down 10 yards to the left. So Tanner being brought on, substitute now, obviously an injury to Paul Loughlin. Saints bench here obviously subject to a lot of barracking. It's only what we can expect here. They don't like Alec Murphy and that, but he's the supremo here and he knows what's going on. Andy Platt there takes the conversion and just keeps it in to the left of the right hand upright. So Andy Platt there stepping up as a standing goal kicker. So Saints 10 points to 4 up after 25 minutes. So Halifax kick off. Saints bringing it to the left. Stuart Evans driving forward. Dave Allison acting half-back. Saints bringing it left again. Onto Chris Arkwright, straightens up, sees the gap and straightens up. Neller just manages to bring him down. But Saints obviously causing havoc in this Halifax defence. Andy Platt again. Solid tackle there. 10 yards short of the halfway line. And the ball coming back to Beavers. Puts it crossfield. Taylor will gather it. Gathers it safely. Comes down his wing here. Les Quirk and Mark Elia bundle him down safely. It's Halifax in possession. Number 4, Wilkinson, ex-Leeds player. The ball now with Gary Stevens. Good wily old campaigner, this Stevens, but Haggerty and Quirk bundle him down. McCallion takes it left. Pendlebury on to number 10, Neller. Right on the halfway line. Chris Arkwright and Dave Harrison. The ball now with Pendlebury. Trying to release, but Saints tackle holds firm. To Whitfield now. Little chip kick through Whitfield. But David Large, well positioned. Got to gather it safely. Outpaces Whitfield. But other Halifax player quickly up there. Stop him just short of the try line. But Phil Beavers from the acting half-back drives forward. Obviously ground got to be made to clear the line. On to Tony Burke. Second on Burke, turning round, tries to release. Solid Halifax tackling, can't get him to ground. Hold him up, finally bundle him down. 10 yards from Saints try line and right in front of the sticks. Andy Platt kicks upfield. Eady takes it on the full. Driving towards the 25. Beats Tanner, flicks it out to Wilf George, and he fluffs it. But I think the ball had gone into touch directly, but George fluffed it. Eady created the gap there, and Wilf George knocked it on. But it's a scrum down just inside Saints 25. Mark Bailey to feed. Well, Paul Loughlin on the injury list now. Saints injuries mounting up. Obviously Paul Farber out with a serious leg injury. Neil Olin and Bernard Dwyer with broken jaws. John Fieldhouse with a leg injury. Kevin McCormack groin, and we had a couple of knocks last Sunday against Bradford, but Mark Bailey coming through it now. But it's Halifax on the attack. Driving forward 10 yards from Saints line. Looking for points, Halifax. Neller there in possession, but Saints tackling, holds firm. 2-3 man tackling, Burke, Platt. Stevens, well, loose ball. Offside there being ruled by referee Carter. Obviously the ball going back to the Halifax man. Yes, offside there, he indicates, but we'd already picked it up. So Tanner steps up, takes the penalty kick, finds touch just outside the 25. Dave Harrison to restart. First man in, Stuart Evans. At pace, sets a 3-man Halifax tackle for bring him down. And Harrison stepping up again, going to move this ball left. Well, Halifax lying offside here again. Pendlebury the instigator, but Chris Arkwright capitalises on it. Feeds inside to Harrison. But Carter ruling a forward pass. It's a pity he wasn't a bit more observant just a few seconds ago when he was looking over here, but chose to ignore it. So half an hour gone of the match, and Saints in a 10 points to 4 lead. Stevens to feed. Stevens to feed when the scrum's finally packed to the referee's liking well. Never went in. Yes, penalised for feeding. Penalty to Saints. Stevens again, constantly. I don't think Saints have won a clean scrum yet. But they're not winning any that way with him feeding. Tanner steps up. Finds touch right on 5 yards short of Halifax 25. David Harrison to restart. On to Jonathan Neal, first man in. Haggerty there. Now with Tony Burke striding towards the line. Chris Arkwright, acting half-back. On to Harrison. No knock on there. That ball bounced before Harrison picked it up. I must admit it wasn't a good pass, but that ball definitely bounced on the ground before Harrison picked it up. But referee Carter, obviously he's got on the spur of the moment decision to make, and he rules it a knock on. So it's Stevens to feed. Saints going in for the ball, but Halifax come away with it. A rather untidy scrum, but Halifax in possession. Looking to come away. Whitfield from the play of the ball just gets out of his own 25. Stevens acting half-back, taking it left. Eady, I think that is, linking up. Obviously can see the urgency, trying to penetrate the Saints defence. Neller pushes one out of the way, but finally bundled to ground. Andy Platt and Stuart Evans. And Halifax moving it right. Stevens again, prodding and probing. Obstruction there, but the referee wasn't looking. But justice is done. The ball's knocked out of the Halifax players' hands. Saints quickly on it. Tony Burke has it. Andy Platt acting half-back. On to Chris Arkwright. Short ball onto Mark Bailey, but quickly up there is Colin Whitfield. On now to Roy Haggerty. Instigator of the first try. Onto Vivers, onto Dave Harrison. Looking to release the ball. The tackles are wiped off. Obviously touched the Halifax player. Phil Vivers acting half-back. Onto Chris Arkwright. Over to the right. Onto Andy Platt. Knocked down by Halifax man again, so it's going to be all on again. But the referee's blown up for the knock-on. It's a scrum down the 10 yards. Inside Saints half. 33 minutes of the game gone, and Saints in a 10 points to 4 lead. Mark Bailey to feed the scrum. See if we can get a clean heel this time. Well, penalised us there. The ball penalised us for feeding, and the ball was still long about in the tunnel. And you can't win with this fella. Obviously, he's not giving him chance. But Whitfield stepping up for the penalty. Finds touch on Saints 25. Halifax on the attack. McCallion onto number 8, Beavers. McCallion again, half-back position. Number 10, Neller, coming through. Solid Saints tackling, but he releases the ball. But Saints quickly up there, see the danger. Beavers and Haggerty. Halifax changing direction. Stevens onto number 4. Yes, number 4, Wilkinson, in at the far corner. 34 minutes of the game gone, and a super ball from Gary Stevens, this wily old campaigner. A change of direction midfield, and Stevens flings it over to the left. Wilkinson gathers the ball safely and going in unopposed in the left corner. Missing that one at the other end, anything can happen. But Halifax, a poor start to the season, as I said before, only won one game in the league to Lee. They're here at Thrum Hall, 26-18. They beat Keighley away in the Yorkshire Cup, 34-12. But in the second round they lost 10-0, I think it was either 10-0 or 16-0. 10-0 it was, to Castleford. So, not so having the best of fortunes so far this season. Whitfield lining up, looks to have missed it. Yes, takes it across the front of the posts. So it's 8 points to 10. Saints in a slender lead. 5 minutes of the first half remaining. Well, Chris Anderson, obviously a big influence on the field. He's now finished as a player. He's taken up the coaching reins. Obviously a big influence. He could see the danger at Wembley last May when he substituted himself, and then he came back on straight away because Saints had scored. Anyway, Mick George there, Wilf George I should say. Mick George just getting a bit mistook there. Well, now on Brian Juliff. But Halifax coming away with it. McCallion acting half-back, moving it right. So Beavers there, driving forward, but not gaining much ground. Haggerty and Harrison bundle him down. And Halifax moving it left. Whitfield in possession. Finally brought down by Evans and Dave Harrison again. Always in at the thick of things, this Harrison. Back to number 13, Pendlebury. Grubbers for touch. Just the ball, just beats David Large. Touch, the ball goes in touch, 10 yards short of Saints 25. There was Graham Eady out there in the number 1 jersey. He was supposed to have finished last season, but carrying on for another season. Won the Landstod Trophy at Wembley. Obviously, if Saints had put it right, you'd have found Mark Earlier had won the Landstod Trophy. But from that scrum, Saints in possession. Mark Bailey coming crossfield. Obviously, we have to get up in the Halifax half, try and get another try and a goal on the board before half-time. Just 3 minutes remaining of this first half. Chris Arkwright takes it on his own, tries to drive forward. Finally ball to ground, the ball wrenched from his grip, but obviously referee Carter had called held, and they've upended Arkwright. That was his signal there, they've upended him, so penalty to Saints. Dave Tanner kicking for touch. Finds touch, 5 yards inside the Halifax half. David Harrison to restart. All Halifax moving up there. Jonathan Neal now. Second row partner to Roy Haggerty. Debut game for Saints, and couldn't be much more of a difficult game for this lad. So Saints passing it out again. Roy Haggerty looking to release as ever. If there's a chance of quick ball, Haggerty, no doubt, Haggerty will release it. That Bailey acting half-back. Ball now with Stuart Evans, straightening up, driving forward. Midfield, brought down 10 yards inside Halifax half. Harrison again onto Andy Platt. Straightens up. Tanner in support, but he couldn't get the ball out. It's Saints now, spreading it left onto Mark Bailey, onto Mark Elia. Taken by Les Quirk. Manages to keep in field. Elia acting half-back. Onto Vivers. Grubbers for the corner. The ball gone touching goal. So it's a 25-yard restart for Halifax. Driving forward now. Stevens again. It's live wire. Touches one of the Saints players there. Comes in field. Phil Vivers gathers it safely. Turns round. Drives towards the halfway line. Super play from Vivers. Versatile character. And Saints take it right. Scooped up by Mark Bailey. Still going Mark Bailey. Harrison, the ball comes back though. Haggerty in possession now. Flicks it out to Vivers. Quick hands onto Elia. Lofted pass there. Les Quirk comes here right in front of us. Gathers it safely. Goes in field, Les Quirk. Loses the ball. Halifax drop on it. Mike Taylor there gathers the ball for Halifax. All on the half-time hooter. Graham Eady coming up in support. Bundle down. Tony Burke. Dave Harrison. Well, the touch judge is on here. Obviously, well, both touch judges are on. Obviously, something in the tackle. Referee Carter speaking to Tony Burke. For a stiff arm tackle. All on the half-time hooter. Graham Eady coming up in support. Bundle down. Tony Burke. And Dave Harrison. Well, the touch judge is on here. Obviously, well, both touch judges are on. Obviously, something in the tackle. Referee Carter speaking to Tony Burke. Time now, I make it. And Whitfield just inside Saints half. 10 points to 8. Saints winning at present. Whitfield going to have a go for goal. Mick Scott coming on the substitute forward today for Halifax. Coming on as Sandman. Difficult kick for Whitfield, but well within his capabilities. Well, last season against Halifax we annihilated him at Nosey Road, 38 points to 16. We lost here 20 points to 19. Another controversial decision. Wilf George going over for a try that must have been a yard short, but they won by the odd point, 20 points to 19. Whitfield lofts it high, but it's going to drop short. Taken by Mark Bailey. Side step on this man. Creates havoc in the Halifax defence, but Whitfield takes him down. Rather high tackle from Whitfield. But Saints now coming away with it. David Harrison gets the ball out. There's the hooter. So still the ball alive. Saints looking lively. Out to Mark Elia. But the ball goes down there. There's the half-time hooter. So Saints going in at half-time, leading 10 points to 8. As I was just on about that game, it was Colin Whitfield that went for the try that must have been a yard short against Halifax last season. But anyway, 10 points to 8 now at half-time. A 24th minute Elia try, an Andy Platt goal, and a 13th minute. I'm back with you now at Thrum Hall. Saints going into the half-time with a slender 2-point lead, 10 points to 8. 2 tries, one from Les Quirk, a debut try in the 13th minute, and a 24th minute Mark Elia try set up by Roy Haggerty. And Andy Platt converting the Elia try. So Saints 10 points there, and Halifax with 2 tries, one from Wilkinson just before half-time and an early one from Hansen. But Saints kicking off. Chris Arkwright quickly in there with Andy Platt. It's Halifax. Ryan Juliff. I think that's all they know here at Halifax. Get the cries of get them on side. I mean, he wants to start getting them on side, does referee Carter, but Halifax kick downfield. Phil Beaver's gathered it safely. Bundle to the ground, just outside his own 25. Tanner there from acting half-back. Driving forward, no way through. David Harrison feeds on to Stuart Evans. Running from deep, Evans, obviously picking it up. Had a good game last week at Nosey Road, his debut game at Nosey Road versus Bradford. And Tony Burke there, coming onto a short ball from Chris Arkwright. Dave Harrison, as usual, acting half-back onto Andy Platt. Sees the gap, Platt, streaks through it. Gets the ball, a lofted pass there. But just a bit out of David Large's hands. I don't move for though. Paul Loughlin back on at half-time, just trying to establish who he's replaced. Or trying to scrum down here, obviously gone away from the correct blade of grass in referee Carter's opinion. Stevens to feed, first scrum of the second half, and Halifax come away with it. Kick forward, Whitfield, Tanner back there, and Andy Platt, I think that is. Andy Platt injured in this collecting of the ball there. So Andy Platt receiving treatment there from Saints physio Tim Dakin. Well, under the new ruling, the ball can be played, so he hands the ball over to Tanner. Tanner restarts while Andy Platt is receiving treatment. So Roy Haggerty. Saints in possession. Paul Loughlin coming back on, replacing Mark Elia. Saints kick upfield and Graham Eady. Graham Eady drives forward. Colin Whitfield acting half-back. Running forward. Ball with Stevens. Short ball onto number 12. Hansen. Up the Callion, stepping up, acting half-back onto Stevens. Little chip kick through. Ball coming in, infield. Safely gathered by David Large. Going crossfield. Straighten up now, Large. But bundled down midfield, 25 yards from his own line. David Harrison going on his own from the acting half-back position. Tony Burke stepping up at the acting half-back. Onto Chris Arkwright, change your direction, taking it over there to the left. Dave Tanner breaks through. There's Quirks with him. Inside to Quirk. Well, good play there from Taylor. Came back and stopped Quirk going in for his second. But say it's on the attack. Haggerty releases the ball to Bailey off his legs. Referee ruling a knock on. Well, we had that problem last week with a quick ball to Lachlan. It was last week. It hit his legs, but ruled a knock on. That was the same there. Haggerty let it go. It hit Bailey on the legs, but the referee ruled a knock on. But it's a scrum down, 15 yards midfield from Halifax try line. It was Stevens to feed. Feeds, ball comes out Halifax side. Halifax are away. Eady, I think it is, linking up. Yes, bundle to ground. Tremendous turn of pace on him for his years. He's about 34. But Halifax putting the attack on. But in their own half, Saints man knocks it down. And Saints are penalised. Oh, Lachlan being spoken to. Well, I missed that. I was following the ball. But Halifax receive a penalty. We saw the ball come back. We'll see it's penalised. Colin Whitfield stepping up. Roy Haggerty received a knock in that encounter. But 10 yards short of Saints 25. Halifax to restart. Wilf George going through on his own. To Beavers, coming up pace. Evans and Harrison, that was, that took him down. Tony Burke in there this time with Roy Haggerty, but it's Halifax again. Stevens again working the loop movement with Whitfield. Eady linking up again onto number 4, Wilkinson. Saints hold out firm. Gary Stevens now going on his own. Taking it right onto Colin Whitfield. Well, he jumped up in that tackle there, and Andy Platt caught him. Well, he's making the best of it, Whitfield. He jumped up as he was going through. As we know, Andy Platt, not a dirty player, but being spoken to by the referee. Chris Arkwright, the captain there, and a penalty awarded to Halifax. Well, right baiters here, the crowd baiters, this Halifax. They're all crying for Platt to be sent off. As you know, nothing in that. 7 minutes gone of the second half, no further score. Colin Whitfield receiving treatment. He is the goal kicker. Prolific goal kicker in his own right and point scorer, Whitfield. Well, as I was saying before in the league, Halifax not having the best of fortunes. They played 4, won 1, lost 3, 50 points for, 94 against, and 2 points in the league. And St Helens have played 4, won 2, lost 2, with 99 points for and 70 against, and 4 points in the league. Whitfield now lining up. Perhaps about 20 yards out, just to the left of the posts. This will level the scores up if he kicks it. Taking his time, as I said, but just had a spell in Australia. So, obviously, back in the Halifax ranks, a vital cog in the equipment. And he hooks it to the left. Yes, hooks it to the left. A chance going a begging there for Halifax. So Saints still with a slender 10 points to 8 lead. Saints to restart with a dropout from their own 25. Phil Vevers restarts. Lofted kick from Vevers. Edie coming infield. Gathers it safely after one bounce. Drives towards the halfway line. New lease of life for this veteran full-back, Edie. Number 12 now, Hansen. Burke and Arkwright take him down. McCallion in the acting half-back. Onto Gary Stevens, taking it blindside, changing direction. Chris Arkwright knocks it down, and the referee waves him off. Well, that's a forward pass. Got the ball going with Hansen, he's going to wave him off now. Yes, there he goes. He missed a couple of forward passes there, but Halifax now with the tails up. Pendlebury, crossfield to number 6, Whitfield. Harrison finally completes the tackle. Ball's loose and Saints are in possession. Solid tackling from Saints there. Dave Harrison comes up with the ball. Tony Burke goes from acting half-back, but is forced back. Harrison again, bringing it to the right. On to Stuart Evans. Dave Harrison again, Chris Arkwright. On to Matt Bain, a quick ball on to Roy Haggerty. Looking to release, just so. Taken by David Ladd, did well to get hold of that ball. Keeps in field. A little action there, just infield. Temper's getting a little frayed. Roy Haggerty in getting the wrong end of that. Looks as though it's going to be a penalty to Saints. Yes, obviously Roy Haggerty receiving a stiff arm from one of these Halifax players. So Saints with the first penalty of the second half. Tanner kicks for touch. 10 minutes gone in the first half. Saints just awarded the first penalty. Dave Harrison to restart. Chris Arkwright on to Stuart Evans. Oh, well, stiff arm there. Terrible tackle that. Number 8, Beavers, I think. A ridiculous tackle. That was intentional. Now, you could see that all the way. So what's his decision this time? No excuse there. He's going to stop the clock. He's going to bring the Saints captain over, Chris Arkwright, and Graham Edie, Halifax captain. Well, Gary Stevens is coming over. He's just letting them know they don't want any more dirty business. So Saints awarded the second penalty in a matter of seconds, and Tanner to kick for touch. Finds touch 10 yards inside Halifax half. Dave Harrison to restart. Jonathan Neal. First touch of the ball, perhaps this second half, for Jonathan Neal. Real big lad, only 18, Cumbrian. So if he turns out in the mould of the Cumbrians that we've had in the past, we certainly won't complain. He certainly got the bill for it. Dave Harrison, loop movement with Chris Arkwright. On to Andy Platt, on to Stuart Evans. The Saints approaching Halifax 25, moving it left. Roy Haggerty, off one leg, flicks it out to Chris Arkwright. On to Jonathan Neal again, driving towards the Halifax 25. The Saints on the attack, did well there, Chris Arkwright, to hold that ball. Brought down right on the 25, it's the last tackle. Is Haggerty stepping up for a drop goal? As you know, he's been the drop goal specialist this season, but they take it left. Phil Vevers, little chip kick through. The ball safely gathered by the Halifax man. Pegged in his own 25, just about 10 yards from their own try line. Mike Taylor coming away from the acting half-back position. Gaining valuable yardage. McCallion acting half-back, on to Neller. Solid tackling from Saints there. Jonathan Neal there, no mistake with him. Neller coming through in full flight, and Neal round the legs and bundles him down. Halifax kick up field, Phil Vevers gathers. Les Quirk comes with him, gathers the ball, straightens up, drives forward into two Halifax men, just nearly broke the tackle, but he's brought down midfield, 20 yards from his own line. Paul Loughlin now. Came back on at half-time as a replacement for Mark Elia, obviously taking a knock in the first half. Saints moving it to the left. Stuart Evans, but going forward. It's going to be a scrum down. A scrum down in at 25, and Halifax making a substitution. Number 14, Meredith, coming on for number 3, Grogan. So it's Gary Stevens to feed. Win the ball inside 25. There's Meredith with his first touch of the ball. Bundled down just inside 25. Good solid tackling from Chris Arkwright. The ball inside 25. There's Meredith with his first touch of the ball. Bundled down just inside 25. Good solid tackling from Chris Arkwright. Whitfield acting halfback. Runs into the Saints wall. Number 11 now, Juliff. Going on his own. No way through for him. Well, they're going to have to move it right, Halifax now. Spread it crossfield. There it goes. On to Gary Stevens. Well, super tackle there. Didn't take the dummy at all. That was Dave Harrison, I think. Followed his man. Halifax moving it right again. Eady linking up. Loose ball. Saints scoop it up. The Saints in possession. Still in their own 25. 15 minutes of the second half gone. Tony Burke now. Pushes one man off, drives forward. Tremendously strong forward, this Burke, from a standing start. But the touch judge is on. Obviously, Halifax throwing the fists in again. I would imagine somebody will be going to the sin bin this time. He's warned them. And it looks as though the Halifax man had gone in for me. But after consultation with both players, the referee Carter awarded a penalty to Halifax. Well, Meredith coming on just as a substitute, and 5 minutes later being resubstituted by Grogan, the man who he just replaced. Only took one tackle, and what a solid tackle, but sustained an injury in it. But from that incident over there on the right, it's Colin Whitfield going to step up, see if he can tack the 2 points for the penalty on. Saints still leading 10 points to 8, and 17 minutes of the second half gone. So Whitfield now stepping up. Yes, he's successful this time. So Whitfield levels the scores up at 10 points each with that penalty kick. For the Beavers to restart. 23 minutes of the second half remaining, and the scores are level. So Taylor from the acting half-back position, driving forward, coming crossfield. Beats 4 Saints tacklers. Well, when we played him, when he's played for Oldham, a very lively character, this Mike Taylor. Gary Stevens now, on to Neller. Andy Platt, Loughlin and Mark Bailey bundle him to the ground, right in front of us here. McCallion. Well, referee not paying attention, looking to the linesman. Paul Loughlin comes up with the ball, and the referee ordering a scrum down. He should have just played that ball, perhaps Loughlin, and see if we'd have got away with it. Obviously Neller, super 3-man Saints tackling, knocking the ball out of his hands. Anyway, it's Mark Bailey to feed. Halifax already winning 3 scrums to 0. Ball going with the feed. Bailey comes up onto Chris Arkwright. Change of direction. Coming blindside Arkwright. Well, Pendlebury slinging one in there. Plain as plain could be. Chris Arkwright comes up laughing. Stuart Evans now. Pendlebury again. With Beavers and McCallion. Andy Platt sees the gap, straightens up. Just short, just brought down short of Halifax 25. Well, penalised, bundled down. They wouldn't let the man up to play the ball, so they must pay the penalty. That's number 8 Beavers and number 11 Juliff. So a chance now for Tanner, I think it'll be, to tag the 2 points on. Andy Platt in his attempts to get up and play the ball, being bundled to ground. So they must pay the penalty. And Tanner going to line up. 25 yards out, more or less right in front of the sticks. Dennis Netherland was on there with the sand. So 10 points each at present. Saints chance to go into the lead. Once again, Tanner lining up. In off the right hand upright. So 20 minutes of the second half. And Tanner puts it into points. His first points since becoming a Saint. A penalty goal in the 20th minute. In off the right hand upright, but they all count. So Pendlebury to restart. Kicks it downfield. Saints coming away with it. Tanner stops it with his feet, picks it up. Drives forward. David Harrison. Short ball onto Stuart Evans. Good solid display of tapping from this Halifax outfit. Got to stop these Saints, as you know, the dangerous in full flight. Harrison coming away there from the action halfback onto Chris Arkwright. Harrison again, links up well, looking for support again, but the tackle, he smothered tackle there round his arms. He can't release the ball. On to Andy Platt. Mark Bailey sees the gap. Dummies inside there. Well, Andy Platt there looks as though he was held before he got that ball. But a knock-on being ruled. Stevens second knock in that tackle, but good display from Saints into passing. Mark Bailey again showing his elusive sidestep. Nearly outpaced the Halifax defence there. Little flicked up ball to Andy Platt, but he was grabbed before he actually got the ball, but it was ruled a knock-on. Well, Eady there. On to number 3, Grogan. Plays the ball to George. On to Eady again. Linking up. Arkwright, Platt. Stuart Evans have him. Tremendous handful this Eady. In full flight, he takes some stopping. McCallion. On to Stevens. Crossfield. Ooh, runs into a brick wall there. Jonathan Neal. Fancy running into him there, eh? About 15, 16 stone of Cumbrian. But he flicks it up there. McCallion. Forward pass there. On to Juliff. But Halifax putting it together. Approaching Saints 25. McCallion coming away. Jump down there. It's the last tackle for Halifax in this set of 6. And it's Juliff. On to Pendlebury. Up and under. Phil Beavers coming for it. Bounced off Beavers. Roy Haggerty picks the ball up. But referee Carter, what's he ruling? Obviously Phil Beavers sustaining an injury there in his attempts to come for the ball. Offside being ruled, I think, by referee Carter. So still with a 12 points to 10 lead. We must apologise again for our position. Well, not for our position, we can't help it, we've just been put here. But it's a rather awkward position for both commentary and camera, as we're right behind a rather large girder. But it's Colin Whitfield's chance to put Halifax back on level terms. Roy Haggerty there being ruled offside from that up and under by Pendlebury. Obviously hitting Beavers, and then Haggerty alleged in an offside position. So it's Whitfield now stepping up. Hooks it to the left. Well, justice is done. For 24 minutes of this second half, and Saints just hanging on to a slender 2 points lead. Uncharacteristic of Whitfield, as a rule, a tremendous kicker, but no wind out or anything today, so no excuse. The ball now coming out from the dropout to Graham Eady. Builds up ahead of steam. Arkwright, Bailey and Haggerty bundle him to the ground. Johnson acting half-back, and Halifax move it to the left. Loughlin and Tony Burt take him down, but McCallion stepping up there onto Pendlebury. Crossfield to Whitfield, onto number 11 Juliff. Stuart Evans and Roy Haggerty take him down. McCallion again, feeds onto Pendlebury. Cleanest jersey on the field, Pendlebury. McCallion now with it. Juliff acting half-back. Going to move it right, are they? No, takes it left onto Stevens. Whitfield, lofted pass to George. David Large has him. No problem for David Large this time. George plays it to Hanson. Halifax taking it right. Whitfield, little chip kick through. Beavers gathers. Touch judge is on. I think the crowd must have been urging him. I don't know. He took his time in coming on, whatever he's seen. I don't know. I was unsighted here. But the touch judge having a word with referee Carter. Finally bringing Chris Arkwright out. No. Stuart Evans it is. Been spoken to by referee Carter. But the penalty going Halifax way. Well, they cleaned up this second half. On the penalties, about 5-3. So Whitfield lining up, but he's having a kick for goal again from a similar position to last time. 26 minutes gone, just 14 minutes remaining. 14 minutes remaining, and let's hope he's as successful this time as he was the last time. So 12 points to 10. 12 points to 10 in Saints' favour. 14 minutes of the game remaining. Whitfield lining up for this attempted penalty conversions. Taking his time, sharp intake of breath, and it goes. Well, it's a judge to have gone through the post this time, I should say. Looking to me, it just went to the left and right over the top. So all the score in this second half coming from penalty conversions. Whitfield putting 2 over for Halifax, and Tanner with 1 for Saints. Short kick from Beavers, obviously planned move. Dave Harrison and Jonathan Neal quickly in there. On to Neller. Neller for Halifax. Runs into Andy Platt and Jonathan Neal again. McCallion onto Brian Juliff. Brought down 10 yards short of the halfway. McCallion stepping up. Got the dummy half again onto Pendlebury. Haggerty, Stuart Evans bundle him down right on the halfway. It's Halifax still in possession, driving forward. Evans just laughing at him. Whitfield, rubbers crossfield. Lesquer runs back, but he just can't stop that ball. Tremendous kick from Whitfield there. A scything 40-yard kick, crossfield. Finding touch 10 yards from Saints' try line, but it's going to be Saints' head and ball. Mark Bailey to feed. Only won 1 scrum this second half. But we're pegged down in our own 25. The score's all level, 12 points each. Scrum down now again. In the same position. Mark Bailey to feed. Well, Halifax collapsed the scrum, but it's Saints' ball. Peg down in their own 25. Andy Platt comes away. Tremendous forward, this Andy Platt. And Dave Harrison stepping up there. And to Chris Arkwright, straightening up, driving forward, looking for the gap. Tremendous defence game this second half. Both teams. Jonathan Neal now coming through. As I said, tremendous defence game. No try scored this second half up to now. Roy Haggerty coming down this wing. Tries to feed it round to Dave Large, but his hand's knocked down as he slips the ball out and it goes directly into touch. And obviously Paul Loughlin okay, as I say, come back on at half-time for Mark Elia. He's in the... hopefully Elia's not picked up an injury, otherwise we're further in the injury problems. So it's Halifax win that scrum. On to Wilf George. Going crossfield, taken down by Loughlin. Tanner coming in to assist. Whitfield stepping up, acting half-back, moving it right onto Stevens, prodding and probing. Onto number 3, the Grogan. Going over, getting into the action. Stevens again. Wily campaigner, flicks it up there to Juliff. It's Halifax brought down right on Saints 25. The ball now with Pendlebury. Running crossfield, flicks it up there to Whitfield. So it's the last tackle now for Halifax. Well, this touch judge is on again. Nothing in that again, and this touch judge is on again. Definitely the crowd are baiting him at the back there on his touchline. Must be. Captain Chris Arkwright being brought out. And Andy Platt. And Andy Platt being sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. So that means Andy Platt won't take any further part in this game, I don't think. Well, nothing in that tackle, I'm sure. But he lay down right in front of the sticks. Obviously, codded the referee and the touch judge there. So Whitfield's going to step up for a penalty conversion. 10 minutes. Whitfield going to line up for goal. As Halifax awarded a penalty right in front of the sticks. 32 minutes of the game gone, 12 points each. Halifax chance to get into the lead. First time they've been in the lead was the 3rd minute Hanson try. And since Quirk scored in the 13th minute, they've always been behind. But Whitfield now right in front of the stick, shouldn't have any problem. 12 points apiece at present. There he goes, stepping up there. Yes, much to the delight of the Halifax crowd. Halifax take the lead, 14-12. And I said all penalty goals. 4 penalty goals in all this second half. 3 to Halifax, so just 1 to Saints. Bill Beavers to restart. Down to Mike Taylor's wing. Saints has to get up there. Super tackle there. Obviously Saints down to 12 men, but David Harrison very rarely misses a tackle. Beavers there coming through at pace. Halifax with the tails up, just taking the lead. Saints down to 12 men. Neller coming crossfield. Flicks it inside to McCallion. Evans and Burke take him down. Stevens acting half-back. Kicks it crossfield through. Les Quirk going to gather it. One of his rare touches of the ball this second half. Straightens up and drives forward. Just gets out of his own 25. Dave Harrison feeds it right to Jonathan Neal. Looks like a high step in second row forward, this Neal. Harrison again, on to Stuart Evans. Bundle to the ground. 10 yards short of the halfway. Well, all Halifax offside here, referee Carter watching, but he's pointing and not penalising once again. Matt Bailey plays the ball to David Harrison, onto Roy Haggerty. Loses the ball. Neller drops on it, just inside the Saints half. Wilf George coming away from acting half-back, onto Neller. Haggerty and Tony Burke bring him down. George again acting half-back. Obviously looking to go on his own. Tremendous pace, this coloured Halifax winger. Time from Widnes last season or the season before, I don't know when it was. Eady coming through and he knocks on. But Halifax regathered the ball, so it's going to be a scrum down, yes. A knock on by Eady. So Phil Beavers kicks for touch. Just 4 minutes of the game remaining. Essential for Saints to get points on the board now, trailing by 2 points. Halifax just made a substitution. Mick Scott coming on for number 8, Beavers. But it's Saints now. Luke moving with Haggerty and Arkwright. Haggerty straightens up, flicks it back to Stuart Evans. Haggerty jumped there. Juliff having a go with him, but the touch judge remains solid this time, doesn't go on at all. There's no justice in that, is there? Haggerty being, well, he's lost the ball. Saints quickly on it. It's a scrum down, surely. The man going down injured. Should have got up and played the ball. Stuart Evans, as it went in there, quickly gathered it. He's not going to release it until told so by the referee. Well, he's having a word with the referee now, so it must be Halifax ball. We're going to restart. Mick Scott going to restart. Stevens onto Whitfield, looking for the gap. Laughlin takes him down. Stupid tackle, smother tackle on Whitfield. Wilf George onto Mick Scott, loses the ball. Down again, Haggerty has it, onto David Large. Keeps in field, Large. Receiving some attention, but it's Saints. Can they get points on the board now to snatch the 2 points here at Thrum Hall? Chris Arkwright. Solid tackle there from Neller. David Harrison. Saints bring it blindside, onto Haggerty. Onto David Harrison again. Brought down just short of the 25. Stuart Evans acting half-back. Takes it left to Chris Arkwright. Bringing it left again to Mark Bailey. Straightens up. Goes forward. Brought down midfield, but about 30 yards out. There's a good Halifax offside here again. Phil Beavers. Onto Tony Burke. Coming through. Phil Beavers again. Change of direction. Onto Bailey. Heading for the line. Onto Chris Arkwright. Gathers it safely. Brought down 10 yards from the line. It's the last tackle. Saints have got to run it now. 2 points behind. Onto Roy Haggerty. Steaming forward. Halifax takes the ball. It would have been the changeover anyway, but the Halifax man has the ball. George stepping up the acting. It's Pendlebury took that off Haggerty. George, the acting half-back. Saints will have to tackle him, keep him up there. Super tackle from Tanner on George. Pegs him back, still in their own 25. But it's Hanson, second row for Halifax. 2 or 3 minutes of the game remaining. Hanson gets up a little slow there. On to Mick Scott. Just getting outside his own 25. But Halifax still in possession. On to Brian Juliff. Breaks the Saints defence. Approaching the halfway line. Beavers has him. Super tackle from Beavers. It's the last tackle from Halifax. On to Neller. Going crossfield. On to number 3, Grogan. Shot ball on to Hanson. On to George. Down this wing. George. Is he in for a try? No. Brought down in the corner. Brought down in the corner, George, but Halifax at the right end of the ground, and time running out for Saints. 14 points to 12. Halifax in the lead. He's given the hand over. It's Saints' ball. Roy Haggerty. The Saints with about 75 yards to go for a touchdown. Halifax quickly coming away there on the sixth tackle. Saints still in their own 25. Chris Arkwright going crossfield. Obviously down to 12 men. It's a big deficit at the top of the table clash like this. I mean, they're all hard this season as we're only down to 14 teams in the league. Loughlin kicks upfield, just keeps in play. Eadie gathers it, but we're up at the right end. Large temporarily stops him. Loughlin dumps him down. Well, we're in injury time now. There has been quite a few minutes of injury stoppage, but it's George now. Whitfield stepping up to the acting half-back position. Halifax getting up very slowly now onto Pendlebury. Taken down by Jonathan Neal and Tony Burke. Gary Stevens taking it crossfield. On to number 12, Hanson. Stevens again from the acting half-back. Halifax are in possession. Time running out for Saints. Taking it crossfield now. Bill Beaver's in there with the tackle, but they're down again. Obviously wasting time. Referee, well, he's looking round. He doesn't know whether to stop the clock or let him play the ball. He's telling him to give it over. As we say under this new ruling, the player's injured, he can take the restart. And Stevens kicks the ball dead, so it's a 25-yard restart for Saints to play the ball on their own 25. Minute and a half into injury time. Haggerty restarts. There's the ball onto Tanner. Ball going to ground and Pendlebury scooping on it. Oh no, it's Les Quirk, I beg your pardon. For Halifax, Mick Scott in possession. Looks as though Halifax are going to come away with the 2 points from today's encounter. Nella now. Pegged. Saints pegged down in their own 25. McCallion acting halfback. Halifax moving it right. Pendlebury back to Stevens. Bobbing and weaving. Flicks it back to Pendlebury. Heading for the Saints line. Flicks it up. Loose ball. All on. Taken by Mick Scott. He waves the tackle count off. So Halifax back to 1. On to Gary Stevens. On to number 11, Juliff. Over 2 minutes of injury time now. Nella going through. Saints forced to kick the ball dead. So it's a drop out from between their own sticks. Ball taken there by Graham Eadie. Looks like him. No, Eadie's over here, beg your pardon. But Halifax in possession, just inside Saints 25. Mike Taylor going on his own. Halifax putting all the pressure on. There'll be no tries this second half. Just 4 penalty goals. But it's Halifax now, still in possession. Solid tackling from Saints there. Boos and the R's from the Halifax crowd. Moving it left. On to Pendlebury. Looking for the gap. But Saints gather the loose ball. Haggerty. But Halifax quickly up there, smother him. Beavers acting halfback. Bundle down in their own 25, Saints. Harrison acting halfback. On to Chris Arkwright. Well, all on the hooter now. It must be just a matter of seconds. Played nearly 4 minutes of injury time. On to Roy Haggerty. On to Tony Burke. Coming down this right wing Burke. Well, not being penalised there. Number 12, Hanson. A quick penalty from Paul Loughlin. Finding touch. All on Halifax 25. Saints last chance to make it count. Stuart Evans in. Penetrates Halifax 25. Quick play the ball now. Dave Harrison moving it left. Jonathan Neal striding forward. Well, 15 yards from Halifax line. Can Saints make it count now in injury time? Just trailing by 2 points. It's Arkwright, Mark Bailey, Andy Platt back on. Obviously with the injury time, allowing Andy Platt to come back on. Loop movement with Phil Beavers. Onto Chris Arkwright. Onto Stuart Evans. David Large, can he make it count in the corner? Well, still in play, David Large, is he? The Saints playing it left. It's the last tackle now for Saints. He's got to play the ball, he must be allowed to play the ball. On with Phil Beavers, kicks it through. Saints follow it up, but it's too deep. Well, the Hooter went as he played the ball, he had to play it. And he's going through, but Halifax running out winners by 14 points to 12. Obviously a defensive game this second half. Only 4 penalty goals, but 3 of them going to Halifax, making them winners 14 points to 12. Saints scorers tries from Quirk, Elia, a Platt goal and a Tanner penalty goal. Well, this is your Saints video team. Ron Hoof and Brian Pears. Thank you for joining us, and we'll join you again in a fortnight. As you know, we've got a layoff next week for the Lancashire Cup final, which is being staged at Nosey Road. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at our next game, which will be Lee at home on the 18th of October. Points each, still the score. Whitfield kicks off, kicks deep. Mark Bailey stops it with his foot. Gathers it, Phil Beavers and Les Quirk with him. Bailey goes infield. Phil Beavers acting half back onto Tony Burke. Crossfield, steps out to one, couldn't release it. Dave Harrison acting half back on the blind side. Roy Haggerty sees a gap, infield. Roy Haggerty fending him off, right, left and centre. Onto Elia, going towards the sticks. Brilliant try there from Elia. 10 yards to the left of the sticks.